Alright guys, let's go over to page 209 for the Explore It. It says the cost of t-shirts for four different soccer teams are shown below. Lorna is on team A, Ben is on another team. They paid a total of $21.25 for both team shirts. Write an equation to represent the cost of Ben's shirts. So we'll use B for cost of Ben's shirts. Alright, and then our equation will be B plus the $12.50, alright, will get us the $21.25. Okay, so that's for part A. Make sure you have that written in. And then it says for part B, Dario also plays soccer, and he says that based on the price of Ben's shirt, Ben is on team B. Is Dario correct? Well, what we can do is this. We had B plus $12.50, right, equals $21.25. So what we're going to do is subtract from both sides. This is why it's always good to show the work. Alright, after we subtract, we get 5, this is 7, this is 10, 8. Alright, so we get 875. Alright, or yeah, we get 875, which is not true. It is not true. So he's not on team B, he's actually on team C. Okay, so we would say no. And this is our reasoning right there based off of that work. Make sure that's written in on page 209. Let's turn over to page 210. Follow along as I read through this. How can you solve equations involving fractions and mixed numbers? Let's look at an example. A 6-foot piece of fruit snack is cut into 2 pieces. What is the length of the shorter piece of fruit snack? What information are you given, and what do you need to find? Right, so we know that we have the total amount, which is the 6 feet, and then the portion that we know so far is the 3 3/4 feet. A fruit snack is 6 feet long. It is cut into 2 pieces, and one piece is 3 3/4 feet. You need to find the length of the other piece. You can use a bar diagram to show how the quantities are related. So we'll get a nice little visual here, and also to write an equation. Look at the bar diagram. The 6 represents our total amount. The 3 3/4 represents what we have, and then the X is the shorter amount that we need to find. Okay. So part is, I missed that part. Which part of the bar diagram represents the length in feet of the shorter piece? All right. Well, let's see. That should be our X. Let's see if we're correct. That is correct. The bar diagram shows how the length of the longer piece, 3 3/4 feet, plus the length of the shorter piece, which we don't know, X, equals the total amount. All right. And then if we go ahead and set this up as an equation, which we're going to do for us here now. All right. So we're going to subtract 3 3/4 from each side. All right. So as we do that and subtract, we should see that we'll get 2 1/4 feet. All right, so we have to tap into what we know about fractions. Let's bring this ahead a little bit. And there we go, 2 1/4 feet is that length. All right, so if we go to the try, it says, suppose you cut the shorter piece of fruit snacks from the example shown into 2 pieces. All right, we already have an equation set up for us right here. All right, we're going to subtract 1 3/8 from the, oops, I don't need to write that. They already have the subtraction sign there, so we have 1 3/8. All right, this cancels out. All right, we're going to do the same thing over here. So this is where all the math is involved. All right, we go ahead and subtract. We get a common denominator. We do that through this. All right, so minus the 1 3/8 again. After we subtract, we get 7/8. All right, and then according to this, this was our full amount, the 2 1/4. What we had on hand was the 1 3/8, and this is what we found. This is our piece here. So the shorter piece is 7/8 long. Similar to what we've been doing prior to this, except now we're looking at decimals and fractions. So this is going in on. All right, everyone, let's turn over to page 211. Look at this particular problem here, which obviously could give us some issues because it's fractions. This whole particular section is a little tough. It says use inverse relationships to solve each equation. So for letter A, what we're going to do is we're going to add 4 9ths to both sides as they show here. All right, they end up getting a common denominator of 3 9ths, 5 and 3 9ths. We add, and it's simply 5 and 7 9ths. Okay, so obviously we need to know some of our fraction skills. All right, for B, now this one's a little tough, so we're going to divide 3/8 by both sides, which they show here. But when we do that, we need to take the flip of 3 over 8, which is 8 over 3. Okay, so these are the ones that you definitely want to pay more attention to, because in my experience, they've given kids some issues. All right, part C is P over 5. All right, so it's showing division. So all we have to simply do is multiply both sides by 5, okay, which is 5 over 1, or just a whole number of 5, giving us a result of 40. All right, and then let's look at the triad here together. So these are the ones I said that tend to give us issues from one year to the next. All right, so you always want to ask yourself, what's going on between these two guys here? All right, so that's multiplication. So when we divide by 5 9ths, right, when we divide by 5 9ths, we're really doing keep, change, and flipping this. So this is what we want to use. So we're going to use 9 over 5. That cancels out. We use 9 over 5 here as well, putting that over 1, cross cancel, yielding us a result of 45. Okay, so make sure you have that written in. I would make sure that you're watching that video maybe a couple times there to make sure you're up to speed with it. All right, everyone, let's look at the bottom of page 211 for example 3. It says Molly bought these oranges for $7.15. She paid the same amount for each orange. Write and solve an equation to find M, the cost of each orange. So they draw a bar diagram here showing you all the oranges that they bought, represented by M, and it's a total of $7.15. So we need to count all those M's, all right, which is a total of 13. So your original equation is 13M equals $7.15. All right, you divide each side by 13, resulting in 55 cents per orange. All right, if we look at the bottom here, Molly also buys a bag of 8 apples. All right, so we can call that A. So 8 apples for $3.60 total. All right, what we're going to do is we'll divide to solve. All right, so we divide each side by A. All right, after we divide, we'll end up seeing that each apple costs 45 cents. So remember, if you're looking at these, even though I know you may not be going shopping that much, your answer should make logical sense. Like $45 for an apple is ridiculously too high, so keep that in mind as you're going. All right, guys, let's look at another example just for good measure. So it says M plus 5.43 equals 9.8. Well, the inverse operation of that would be to subtract. And you can see that in red here, 5.43 from each side. Make sure you're lining up the decimals. I would actually probably write them underneath rather than side by side. This would just result in M equals 3.35. All right, actually this is on page, the top of page 212 if you want to follow along. All right, the next one it says X divided by 2.5 equals 40. This could also be written as X over 2.5, so you're going to multiply each side by 2.5 times 40, giving you 100. That is part B. All right, C. It looks like it's slightly different from the book. They switched B and C, so just keep that in mind. C, you're going to add 6.2 to both sides, which will give you 9.1. And then our last one here says Carmen spent $12.50 for a new notebook. All right, so this is going to be on the top of page 212, so make sure you write that in. So 12.5 is the total. The new notebook cost $6.35. Right, and we're going to add this with the cost of the compass. So we'll subtract 6.35 from both sides. Make sure you line up the decimals as you do so. After you subtract, you should get an answer of $6.15. All right, so this is at the top of page 212.